All right, y'all. Now, you're not going to believe this. President Trump just went berserk on Chuck Schumer. And when you hear what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing behind the scenes, it's going to blow your mind, because what a lot of Americans don't know is that a lot of the things that's holding up President Trump really pushing the throttle and getting his agenda done is that the appointments that he's made for specific departments, they have to be approved by the Senate, right? Confirmed by the Senate. And what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing, they are holding up every nomination. They're doing things like going on the floor and having these super long speeches like Cory Booker just did. Understand something. When they're doing this grandstanding and they're standing there and they're making all of these big speeches against Trump and against his nominees, they know that they are powerless. There is nothing that they can do to stop the confirmation. So what they're doing is they're prolonging it. And they're making it more difficult than has ever happened in history before. And so people are wondering, like, hey, President Trump, what's going on? And one thing I'm concerned about when it comes to the Republican Party, we look at the Democrats and we laugh at them. We say, oh, they're fascists. They kick out their elected people. They insert who they want. They don't care about what the voters want, and yada, yada, yada. And they cancel anybody. It's like right now, the reports that have come out about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Wait till you see this video I'm about to drop on that. So please be on the lookout for that, because it's going to blow your mind. But the Democrats eat their own. And then the Republican Party, we're starting to resemble that, where the moment things seem like it's not going right, or the lamestream media comes out with another fake headline, you got these weak-hearted, fake, on-the-fence Republicans that, oh, I knew Trump this and I knew Bondi that. And it's like, whoa, wait a second. These are the same people that told you that Joe Biden was healthy, Kamala was black, the border was secure, inflation was transitory, the jab wouldn't hurt you. This is them that are now coming up saying, oh, Trump is losing support. Remember, they told us that Kamala was going to win the presidency. Oh, that joke about Puerto Rico really ruined Trump with Hispanics. Hispanics overwhelmingly supported the man at about 60%. So don't buy into that BS. Now, here's what's going on with Chuck Schumer and President Trump. Wait till you see this and what the senators are coming out saying, because what this man is doing is wretched. And wait, check this out. So as you see right here, and Nick Sorto is an awesome resource for conservative news, conservative information. He gives it straight up and down. And he's got sources on the inside, man, that come with it. So breaking, President Trump says Chuck Schumer is attempting to extort him. He tells Chuck Schumer to go to hell. Check this out. That's my president. Adjourn the Senate, Thune. Senator crying Chuck Schumer is demanding over $1 billion in order to approve a small number of our highly qualified nominees who should right now be helping to run our country. This demand is egregious and unprecedented and would be embarrassing to the Republican Party if it were accepted. It is political extortion by any other name. Tell Schumer, who is under tremendous political pressure from within his own party, the radical left lunatics, to go to hell. Do not accept the offer. Go home and explain to your constituents what bad people the Democrats are and what a great job the Republicans are doing and have done for our country. Have a great recess and make America great again. Now, you may be saying, well, why is Trump telling them to go home and adjourn? Because if the president adjourns the Senate, right, he can use what's called recess appointments. So with Congress and the Senate dismissed, they're on recess, the president then has the power to be able to confirm his nominees. But it'll take the majority leader, Senator Thune, to adjourn the Senate and send everybody on their recess. Do you think he's going to do it? Matter of fact, put it in the comments. You think Thune is going to stand strong, or do you think he's going to fold and bend and accept this BS offer from the Democrats? But what is this extortion offer that Chuck Schumer is forcing upon President Trump? Well, here it is right here. So as we see from John Bresnahan, news, here's the Senate state of play. Schumer made Thune in the White House an offer on Friday night. The Dems will greenlight immediate confirmation of a small batch of nominees if the White House unfreezes funding for NIH and foreign aid. Now, the NIH is the National Institute of Health. Now, you may be asking yourself, why in the world does Chuck Schumer care about the NIH and foreign aid? Remember, if you pay attention, remember back in 2020, the Summer of Love, they had all of these riots and people all over the country. I mean, they were tearing stuff up everywhere. And right now in 2025, you see little small pockets of stuff, but you mostly see senior citizens who don't have a job, or you see really young drug addicts or homeless people that are doing all this uproar. How do I know that? Because when these folks are getting arrested, which they are, you get a chance to find out, man, this person has an extensive criminal background, drug history. You can just look at their pictures and you can see what their charges were. These people were already people that had been arrested and been in trouble, were unemployed, or senior citizens who would like some extra money because they're paying these people, right? So their foreign aid money, when Doge came in, has dried up. That USAID money, they was using that to fund all of their political coup attempts and all of the BS that they got going on, all in the name of helping people. But when Trump and Doge shut that down, that's why they're losing their mind over NPR and other of these liberal lamestream extremist outlets, because that's the propaganda machine. And without the propaganda machine, American citizens can see that, y'all been screwing us and just been covering up poop with a beautiful box and presenting it to the people. And when they get home and see that it's poop, ignorant Democrat voters are so embarrassed that they don't want to tell anybody. So guess what they do? They double down. And so with the NIH and that foreign aid funding gone, it's a wrap. So no judges or controversial nominees in this group. So the first group that they'll relieve are no judges or controversial nominees. Controversial according to who? So they'll do a small batch for $1 billion of money. They'll do a small batch. Dems will agree to the second batch of nominees later this fall if the White House formally agrees to no more recession packages. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app or a super chat, but you hitting that like button, it really helps get the information out there. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And whether you're already subscribed or you're subscribing today, make sure that you hit the notification bell and then you select all. YouTube is having issues with notifications, but when you hit the notifications bell and you select all, you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Look at that extortion. So they're not even confirming them all. A small group right now, and then later in the fall, we'll do another batch, as long as you don't do this and do that. And they're not even in control. The arrogance of these people to try to strong arm the political party in control. You know why? Because they know that most of these Republicans up there are weak-hearted clowns. All of those senators we got up there are not MAGA. Some of those are the holdovers from the good old days with the Good Old Boy Network, where they pick three emotional things that they stand out, like against abortion, against men and women's sports, and against like trannies in kindergarten. They'll go out for those three major ones or the border. But the 96% of the other topics, they right there, hey, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're going to both do this, yeah. And see, the general public just misses it because they say, oh, they're fighting for us, yeah, on those three emotional issues. But on everything else, they're in full agreement. We don't get the $37 trillion in debt without it being both parties. So this may be a deal breaker for the White House. The GOP says that if Dems don't cut a deal, then they may change Senate rules using the nuclear option, a simple majority vote. When is unclear, but if this drags into next week, it could happen. So when it could happen is unclear, but if it drags into next week, it could happen. So the nuclear option, what the Republicans are trying to avoid, they say if they use the nuclear option, the Democrats will use it too. So we got good old Chuck Schumer out here spreading propaganda about President Trump and the nominees and what Trump is trying to do, right? To add on to this man's lies, he just came out and went on national television and told the world that President Trump was spending $200 million for a White House ballroom, right? And which is true. The White House ballroom is getting redone, and the price tag on it is $200 million. So Chuck is presenting that to the American people so they can say, oh, look at President Trump. But what he forgot to mention is this small fact on top of it. And I'm going to let my girl Caroline explain where Chuck Schumer's lies at. Check this out.
Here's even something more confounding. Some breaking news. Just now, the White House announced construction of a $200 million White House ballroom that will begin in September. A $200 million ballroom.
Facts.
Where'd this money come from? Did Congress appropriate it? I don't think so. It's almost like Doge was never about waste at all.
President Trump and other donors have generously committed to donating the funds necessary to build this approximately $200 million structure.
Here's even something more confounding.
So that's what Chuck Schumer, and Chuck Schumer knows that. President Trump is funding it out of his own pocket with a few other donors. Not touching taxpayer money. You know who is? Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. $3.1 billion for the new Federal Reserve building. That's the one that Trump took a tour and was looking at it and pulled out the paper on him and said, hey, man, initially it was only supposed to have been $2.7 billion. Now it's under budget. It was under budget, and we need more money because it can't get done. So you need actually $3.1 billion. Pulls it out on television with Powell, and Powell's like, oh, I didn't know. While he's refusing to drop interest rates on the country with everything that President Trump has done well, even though during the Biden administration, inflation was crazy high. Inflation had never went back to 2%, which is what Jerome Powell is waiting on. Nope, he dropped it 50 basis points when Kamala Harris entered the campaign to make the economy look better than what it was. That's why President Trump also, within the last 72 hours, fired the head of the Board of Labor and Statistics. He fired him. Why? Because come to find out that the jobs report that he put out on President Trump for last month, it negated 280,000 jobs. How do you miss by that much? How do you intentionally try to skew the data to make it look worse than what it is? Oh, President Trump only created 73,000 jobs. Wrong. He was off by 280,000. What about under Joe Biden? Under the Biden administration, in that election year time of 2024, they overestimated the jobs report for the Biden and Harris administration by 818,000 jobs, almost 1 million jobs. They were incorrect. They overgave it almost 1 million jobs, which shows that the Biden administration didn't have good jobs numbers. They were cooking the books for him. And now with President Trump, they're cooking the books again, but in a negative way. So when he fires this individual, they say, oh, Trump's being a dictator. No, he just wants somebody in there that knows how to count if that's their job. Is that so bad? And then you got the CNN, the ignorant CNN host, Abby Phillips, who gets, oh my God, I can't stand that woman. Because all she does is overtalk conservatives and try to make excuses for the Democrats. She had the audacity to come out and say, oh, but there's a lot to go into this. And how can he do this, that, and the other? And who is he? And the other individual said, but if that's your job and you're off by 280,000 here and you're over indulging and giving almost 1 million extra jobs to the previous administration, we talking about 1.3, you know what I'm saying? That's a huge mistake. So why should they stay in their position? Does the president not have the right to question it, research it, review it? See, these Democrats, they feel like any move that should be made should be approved by them. And if they don't like it, or if they don't want that person removed, it's just wrong, even though their voters will select. And if they don't like it, they'll boot them out. Even in their own DNC vote, David Hogg was elected. But they didn't like the fact that he was going to go after Democrats who weren't psycho enough. So they said, oh, you know what? We found a loophole. Nope, he's not VP anymore. We're going to get somebody in there that we like. So that's one on Chuck Schumer. But let's take it back even further. Because before I even get to that on Chuck Schumer, okay, I want to show you what President Trump had to say about good old Chucky boy and just how fake this man is.
Senator Schumer, good. Yeah, I supported him. I don't know. He used to say that's true, and now I'm not sure he would, but I gave him his first check from an office in Beach Haven, and I was very proud of it. I don't know about lately. No, I was. It was his first check. He was running, and Senator Schumer.
So we got Trump gave Schumer his first check. And matter of fact, let's think about this. It doesn't stop right there. Remember when Schumer said this, when he was on The Apprentice, the #1 show in the country for 15 years?
Please sit down. Please make yourselves at home. I was born in Brooklyn, the same place where Donald Trump's family comes from. His father and my grandfather were builders together in Brooklyn. Yeah. Even when he was much younger, you knew that he was going to go places. So
Senator Schumer and Mr. Trump are good friends. They both have a passion for life, and you get that immediately talking to him, that he actually cares about what he does.
Oh, so what do you have it there? Good old Chucky boy and Trump were friends. Their dads were buds. Trump's father and Schumer's grandfather were buddies. But you wouldn't be able to tell it by the crap he's pulling today, but we're not going to stop there. Remember when Trump said this back in 2020?
Hi, Chuck. He used to love me when I was a Democrat,
2016.
And a special hello to all of you in this room who have known and loved me for many, many years. It's true. The politicians. They've had me to their homes. They've introduced me to their children. I've become their best friends in many instances. They've asked for my endorsement, and they always wanted my money, and even called me really a dear, dear friend. But then suddenly decided when I ran for president as a Republican that I've always been a no good, rotten, disgusting scoundrel. And they totally forgot about me. But that's okay.
Wow. Now, on top of all of that, one of the senators that I always like to hear speak is John Kennedy out of Louisiana, because that old country man, he does not hold punches. So I want you to listen to what he has to say about what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing and what he wants to see happen. Check this out.
Sense of what Democrats are demanding, because it sounds like they are negotiating or at least talking to leaders.
My understanding, and this is secondhand, so it may be unfair, but I'm hearing it from credible sources, is that the president is negotiating directly with Senator Schumer, and that Senator Schumer is demanding money now that only the president can provide. Now, what it is, how much it is, what it's for. I'm not saying money for him personally.
Yeah.
I mean money, not, and I didn't mean to imply that. Money for whatever. I don't know whether it's the budget or money to be released to universities or what the terms are. But that's what my understanding, and that the president has said no so far.
What's your guess, if you just had to make a guess, how long you guys stay here for?
I don't know. If you'd asked me yesterday, I would have said we were coming together, and maybe we'll have everybody will have a Pauline conversion, and we'll reach agreement today. But my advice, for what it's worth, to Senator Thune is to just whip us until we can't be whipped anymore. If everybody wants to play this game, then make it as painful as he can for both sides until they just cry like a baby and say, we'll do whatever you want. We'll stand on one leg and bark like a dog if you tell us, but don't make us do this anymore. But and maybe he took my advice, because we would normally start voting at 11. Now we're starting at 10, and to do one every 2 hours, it's going to occupy our time a little bit, but it's a waste of time. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't mind doing it. This is my job. I'll stay here until the second coming, if that's what they want. But it's just a waste of time. If we're going to stay here, let's work on something meaningful.
Boom. So as you heard it from Senator Kennedy, President Trump himself, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats are trying to extort the president for $1 billion to fund their programs. And these folks act like, you hear them say foreign aid. They're never asking anything for domestic anything. It's always foreigners, illegal immigrants, and criminals. And they talk about billionaires when they are the party for the billionaires. They want to tax everybody, knowing that the super rich will find loopholes. And every Democrat that has ever been in political power, their very first way that they go about screwing over the general public is to act as if they're trying to screw over the rich. Remember, when the income tax was introduced by Democrat President Woodrow Wilson, in its inception, it was presented and sold as, we got to go after the millionaires, because there wasn't hardly any billionaires at all. Matter of fact, Andrew Carnegie was the richest man in the world at that time. He had just sold U.S. Steel for $400 million. So we're going to tax the millionaires 1%. So it was for taxing the top 1% at 1%. So 1% tax on the top 1%. Look up today. We're taxed 7% across the board nationally. That's how it started. And guess what happens to those rich people? They get really skilled accountants and accounting firms. They figure out how to leverage the loopholes, and they end up still having to pay tax, but they utilize the system to their benefit, as do many of us, being honest with you. And you know who doesn't, who can't? Those that are uneducated, unaware, and that are really bearing the brunt of what was sold as, we're going to get those millionaires, really turned around, end up screwing the people, which is why the founding fathers didn't like taxation without representation. That was the whole thing that led to that war for liberty, for freedom, and the Boston Tea Party, all of those things. So as you can see, the Democrats, they haven't changed. They are still the class of elitists and they wanted the illegal immigrants to be their new slave class. Because every time you hear them talk, think about what you hear. They talk about serving food, picking crops, and all types of crap like that, man. It's insane. These folks are ridiculous. But at least we now know, Chuck Schumer, you've been exposed, my man. And if the Senate Republicans go for this crap, they all have to be voted out. Matter of fact, I'm reaching out to the RNC this week to see what it is that I could do to help out going into the midterm. So hopefully you're doing something in your area if you can. If not, just your support is much appreciated. So if you've hung out and watched it up to this point, I greatly appreciate you, and I thank you from the top and bottom of my heart. If you haven't liked the video already, hit that like button. If you aren't subscribed, subscribe. And most importantly, I want you to stay safe and you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.